Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget Daniel Corbin, and I am Executive Vice President of Wilco. We are a security systems and video surveillance and IoT integrator that has uniquely provided security and telecom services to multifamily and commercial facilities for over 40 years. And we're coming live to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today we are excited to be back for our second inaugural episode for the Security Industry Association's Women in Security Forum's Lunchtime Spotlight. Again, we're excited to launch this new program and initiative that showcases and highlights women who are engaged and excellently representing their organizations in our industry that is changing and evolving every single day. These are women who are meeting the times. That's the slogan. These are women who are meeting the times. So thank you all for joining us and celebrating their success. And today we're excited to host our second inaugural guest, Lynn Seve, who's the president of GSA Schedules. And for those who don't know, GSA Schedules provides an expertise and support and services for GSA multiple award schedule contract submission that really focuses on security, IT, fire, and building controls industries. So if you don't get any male dominated than that, that is it. So we're so excited to have Lynn joining us today. Hello, Lynn. How are you? With
Hi,
your
Bridget.
virtual screen.
Thanks a lot for having me today.
Absolutely. So glad you can join us. I know you've been on calls all day like myself, so we're thankful to have some time with you and to hear more about your work. And with that, let's jump right into it. Definitely would love to hear a little bit about just an intro about who you are,
Sure.
some context and how you started GSA, and we'll kind of go from there.
Well, let me clarify that my company is GSA Schedules Inc.
Yes.
And what we do as far as the security industry goes is that we provide, as you said, support for GSA schedule contracts in the security industry. We're not the government. So the GSA schedule program is our area of expertise, particularly, in the area of security, fire alarm systems, building control systems. And of course, there's lots of overlap into IT because technology is king these days. So,
absolutely.
And as you mentioned, Bridget, when I started in the industry was, quite a few years ago. I founded my company in 1984. But prior to starting my company, I was working in the industry, working for an integrator company. And I started as inside sales support administration, some actually preparing quotations, for government, a little bit of purchasing, a lot of compliance. And so just really from the bottom up.
Okay. Wow, what a great experience.
So people say, Lynn, did you ever work for the government? No, I didn't take my dad's advice and get the job with the government with the pension. No, I went the entrepreneurial route. And it really has been an exciting ride and challenging because honestly, when I started this, there were very few women in security. I mean, yes, there were women receptionists. There were women purchasing agents, okay?
Right.
There were few women salespeople. Okay.
Right.
And so it was, real interesting. It was challenging.
Yeah.
But, I had a mostly positive experience in that coworkers, male coworkers, recognized my enthusiasm. And I think my enthusiasm helped lead to my success and determination. Okay. And they really, included me. And I mean, that's the whole thing right there. Inclusive.
Absolutely.
Okay. Introductions, networking.
Yes.
It was a win-win situation because I was hardworking and, I really sought to learn as much as I could about government. And so I was a big help. It was it was a situation, a complementary situation, and that I would support the sales team. And then I became the sales team. And then I became the manager,
So Lynn, in the 80s, it took me a while to kind of realize that I would love this business and that
Mm-hmm.
I had a lane that I could chart in this
Sure.
business. When I was younger, security industry was like, what is that, Dad? I'm not going into the business,
Yeah.
So how did you understand for yourself that as you were getting just the mentoring and doing literally all the great work that it takes to understand this business at that time, even now, that's the nuts and bolts of it, the quoting, the administration, the pricing, the understanding it from the integrator perspective. How did you realize, like, this is really what I want to do, not do something else, not go into that direction, but I'm going to stay and build in this direction of industry of security?
I really like that this industry is tight knit. And
Hmm.
you don't hear very much about people leaving the industry. You
Mm,
might hear about them going to another company within the
that's
industry or
interesting.
taking the plunge, climbing up to a different, more challenging job.
Hmm.
But, it is interesting. Again, male dominated,
Yeah,
going, especially when I entered the industry in the early 80s.
right. Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
totally male dominated, okay?
Absolutely.
Especially trade shows, okay?
Oh my God.
Me in
Still
my
are.
business suit and other people in skimpily clad outfits with high heels, right?
Mm,
That was challenging. So, but, you
mhm.
know, yeah, I mean, it trying, understanding, but being welcomed because of, again, a tight knit community, I believe, and not that it wasn't challenging and not that some people, um, did not recognize that a woman
Mhm.
or diversity could add to to their sales experience, to their success.
Yeah. Mhm.
Understanding that your customers are everybody. They're
Right.
not just men,
Right.
okay?
That's
And they're
true.
not just white men,
Right.
okay?
That's
So,
true. But I think
I
that's changed more now, Lynn. I think in the
yes,
80s, a lot of their customers were white men, right? They were real
yes.
estate, they were facilities, they're in government. But I think now, looking at 2020, the demographics are completely changing and changing literally every day. When I say this industry is changing, it's not just the products and the hardware and the designs,
Oh,
it's even the
absolutely.
marketplace is also changing.
It is. It is.
And so that's why I think, for you to already kind of intuitive that, just so many years before, you're just
Hmm.
kind of like in a great location. How big are you? Like, can you just talk us a little bit about how big your team is? And like, I'm assuming, I think getting into government business is one of the like esoteric, if you don't know how to do it, don't even try, or it takes time to even like learn that skill. So you've kind of mastered it. So how has that been successful for your company? Tell us, like, how big is GSA?
Well, we're not a big company. We're a small woman-owned business,
Okay.
okay? And
Okay.
I think what you'll see is that there's pockets of people scattered around,
Yeah.
and they have different skill sets.
Yeah.
They might have different disciplines where they have expertise because it's not just knowing the rules, the federal acquisition regulations, which of course you better understand or you could get in
That's
some
right.
serious hot
Right.
water. But it's understanding how your industry goes to market.
Mm,
Who are the stakeholders? You know, uh, just understanding the leading manufacturers or who's the newcomer and has the hot new product. Being able to relate that um, and work with the government agencies, not just their end user customers or their management, but also their procurement people. So
right.
it's a little bit of everything, but honestly, you asked about the size of our company. We're small.
Mhm.
We have a staff of about 8 to 10 people,
Yep.
and not everyone gives advice, seasoned advice. Okay, they have different skill sets
Right.
because there's so many things that go into doing business with the government: the forms, the spreadsheets, the
Yeah.
pricing. How do you apply it? How do you report it? How do you stay in compliance? So
True.
I wear a lot of hats in how I am supporting my clients because there's so much to talk about.
Yep.
And many companies just don't have, that kind of staff to be
Hmm.
able to answer all that. But they may have good staff that understands a good part of it or
Yep.
that are leading sales, but they may not understand, all of the paperwork associated with that. And so we're really, our company is really an extension of their team. You know, when we work with a company, we are their team. You
Mm.
know, I find myself writing letters saying we, and I'm like, oh, I'm them, okay? Because you know that's what you have to do. So,
You.
you know, our team, we don't get involved in GSA contracts for real estate or you know, airplanes or you know things that don't apply. We most of our work is related to security and protection and building controls, and that's where we have knowledge of the industry,
Right.
knowledge of the folks to work with in the government, because that's you know helpful to make sure you're on top of the changes and what's happening. And those are all kinds of people,
Right.
Bridget. Okay,
Absolutely.
those are men and women and young and old and a great diversity. And so you better, you know, make that effort to be inclusive in all of the work that you do if you want to be successful.
And the vendors, like you said, the products are kind of also, of course, changing and morphing literally in rapid speed. You kind of mentioned the hot new product that you all have to stay abreast of. All integrators definitely, and that also consult and provide solutions for clients like yours. We all have to do it. Building controls is like definitely one of the hottest spaces right now. Like people wanting to have their total building connected by each and every part of the ecosystem of security access. So what are you seeing kind of change in that market? Are you seeing vendors coming to you? Do you have to approach vendors? Are you seeing like just the changing of the technology that's also driving the new space? Does that mean you're hiring and your team is also changing as well too? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, honestly, the government, the GSA schedule program, recognizing the changes in technology and that they had, you know, 26 different GSA contracts for different kinds of commodity areas. Well, there was so much overlap that companies were having to get 2 and 3, you know, different GSA contracts, and still there's other overlap because when the government was trying to procure a solution for whatever their agency might need, just as you talked about, you know, let's talk about a building. You got the envelope of the building, you got the interior of the building, you're protecting the outside with some physical stuff, the inside, you got to think about cybersecurity. So GSA said, let's just set this GSA contract up to be all inclusive. And we'll recategorize the commodities of products and services and match them up to the next codes that, you know, most companies will register themselves in the system for award management, which is where you register to be a government contractor, and it draws from D&B. And so they made the commodity codes look like that. And now anyone that applies for a new GSA contract can literally think about what their company does and offer all of those things instead of having to get several GSA contracts. So this is way more efficient. Again, you know, I think to be, for us to be able to support companies, we have to have an understanding of who, you know, what's going on in the industry. How are these things priced? You know, the typical type of thing that you might need to make a sales call. I'm not saying that our team would have to design and engineer a system, but we better understand, you know, what our clients need to approach that and to apply for a GSA contract that makes sense to their needs.
Absolutely.
So it's, you know, there's a lot of new rules, you know, coming into GSA contracting, you know, related to supply chain and, you know, where are those products made, and are the products on a list of you know, companies that aren't allowed to be sold to the government?
Right.
What kind of testing needs to be part of it, and what kind of qualifications of the people? So there's a lot that goes into it, and areas that, you know, people who've never sold to the government before might not even anticipate that they need to address.
Absolutely.
So it is exciting to me that, you know, GSA is making these changes and they're rolling it out. They're in phase 3 of it. Okay. So the first phase was, okay, we're changing. Here's the new solicitation. Okay. And then now let's get all the current contractors ramped up so they can like address it with the new categories. And now let's combine the people that have more than one contract, you know, their 2 or 3 contracts into a single contract. That's not easy because they may have a 5-year agreement with an agency. And so they've got to somehow work out so they don't lose out any of that time. So they could even have a couple contracts running simultaneously for a while until that's finished. So it's interesting, but you can buy helicopters on GSA contract. I mean, boats, there's, think about what you need for protection. So
wow, right. That's interesting. You're absolutely right. Have you ever sold boats or helicopters?
I haven't, well, boats, okay, like the boats that chase the bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I didn't even think about it because that could be part of security in a way. You're
absolutely is.
Right.
There's a whole area of marine security that's
Oh
part
my
of
goodness.
the contract. So that's interesting.
And that's the kind of thing I was just in an article for the security system news, and I literally said that I think the security industry is one of the most underrated, hottest industries that we're going to see so much innovation come out in the next 10 years, literally. Because I think COVID definitely had and just a part of accelerating the trend and importance of what we all do. But even just what you just said about just the different types of things fitting security, maritime security, like who would have thought that maritime or airtime, which is absolutely hands down part of security, would be, something that would be, you would have to even spec for. I would love to spec a boat maybe and see like what that looks like, but that just kind of goes into the attraction of the industry right now. And I think there's so much more room for diversity. So just kind of pivoting in that sense, do you see that this is a great time for more women to be involved? And what would you, what do you kind of see in terms of the industry for the initiatives that are coming out of bringing more women, bringing more diversity into this very just innovative, and we haven't even reached the tipping point, this innovative space that we're now seeing grow in these 20s that we're in?
Well, I will say that given all the ups and downs that, have occurred over the last, several years, even 10 years, career-wise, I think there's great opportunity for women in the area of security and protection, because that need's not going to go away.
Not at all, ever.
I've seen that, yes, with COVID, in the last 2 years, some businesses, commercially, we're struggling a bit, while we were all trying to readjust our lives, but it seems that most security companies have done pretty well. I've been busier than I've ever been in my life.
Nice, Lynn.
I always thought that this area is a great opportunity for women. And like I said, now you don't just have to be the receptionist, okay?
No, you don't.
You can be an engineer. You can be anything.
You can be anything.
And SIA, in this last year, their initiative with the Women in Security Forum, we've got so many companies that contributed to our scholarship, and we were able to hand that scholarship out to a group of women, not one, a group of women.
Yes.
And, to help with continuing education or pay back your loan or whatever. And I was just thrilled with all the companies that stepped up and contributed, even in this difficult time. And everybody was excited about it. We have men that are part of our Women in Security Forum. There are partners in this. They're like I said, my friends when I was younger, who promoted me, who introduced me, who introduced me to large companies that would probably have never taken a look at me. Hadn't said, hey, meet my friend, Linda Seve. She has this expertise.
No, I heard Maureen Carlo calls them malais.
Yes, malais, exactly. I love that term.
Hi, Maureen. Malais, exactly. But you need it. You need hands across the aisle, particularly for these.
I just think it's a great career opportunity, for women. For anyone, honestly. Okay. But
and it's exploding and it's getting bigger in the scope. It's getting bigger in scope as well, too.
We've had such a positive response from industry, from manufacturers and integrators and others in, in this initiative, in the movement, as Maureen would call it.
Right.
And it's just very gratifying, to me. When I think of my small start back when I was, a young kid in my 20s, okay? My boss used to smoke cigars in the office and
I
drink
know.
a bottle of Malox right at his desk, Shouldn't have been smoking those cigars.
I
But
know.
I've come a long way since then.
We have.
And it's really
We
been
definitely have.
really a progressive journey that, it's been very exciting to me. And I'm not planning to stop anytime soon.
I know
So
that's right. Well, what would you let me, and we're kind of nearing the end, but what would you think would be, some of the things that the industry could do better if it's not already tackling it now, but to do better to really promote more industry of women and diversity, particularly as we're going into these new times, new products, new designs, new government. These are now, it's not coincidence that all these things kind of happen and come together at the same time. So would love to just hear your thoughts on if you could tell the industry something, what would you say?
I would say in what's been happening in the last 2 years with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
probably some of the greatest burden has been on women
Mm,
because women have had to
yes.
keep their families running. Okay. The kids are at home learning. You might be at home working. It's required some patience, I hope, from employers, and some, just thinking outside the box for everybody. And so hopefully they'll understand the fact that women have really taken on the double burden and
Mm,
to keep it going.
yeah.
And so, I hope that there's, companies will recognize that,
Yeah.
provide some emotional support
Yeah.
and encouragement and bending a little bit. And especially as things are improving and we're coming back into, perhaps the kids being back in school, et cetera, there'll be some opportunities to grow in our positions, to
Yep.
become, maybe take some additional classes to improve our technical skills,
Mm,
and just, give us a break there, okay? Realize that we can multitask really well, okay?
mm.
And
Always have.
recognize that,
Have to.
okay? And
Mhm.
that we bring a lot to the table, of all sorts of, when you can handle what we've had to handle over the last almost 2 years now, well, more than a year,
Yeah.
recognize that we can step up and offer those same kind of skills in executive positions, in sales management positions, in technical engineering challenges. We've got it. We can do it. Okay. And hopefully everybody in the industry, whether you're a small integrator company or a big manufacturer,
Yep.
will understand that we've got a lot to offer.
Absolutely. Oh, Lynn. Well, I mean, given that, as we're, now SIA's doing so much more to bring and promote more women in the industry.
Mhm.
I think I mentioned at our last episode that maybe about, I don't know, 3 years ago, it started with like 6 members of the Women Security Forum. And now it's, almost, wow, well over 1,000 are getting there. That's a big deal. And that means there's a movement happening for sure. So I definitely think that there's advice that we could offer to young women who are thinking about
Sure.
coming in, or any woman who are thinking about coming in. And, I definitely love to say what I say, but I'd love to hear what your advice would be to someone listening and saying, I want to either be promoted or start my own, business based off of the learning that I can leverage from wherever industry and company or design house that I'm in.
Well, first of all, I would say to women to ask,
Mm,
okay? Reach out to your coworker and ask. And I would say to, the gentleman in the company, I'm sorry, to offer, okay? To, sponsor somebody, help somebody out, look around you, be aware that you make your company stronger by being inclusive of
yeah,
those people that are there, and recognize that they have capabilities and skills that you might not have considered. So, but don't be afraid as a woman to ask, hey, I'd like to move up here, or I'd like that position. What can you do to help me? Where is there an opportunity for me? Don't be afraid to do that, because the old saying, ask and ye shall receive.
that is true.
You
That
know,
is true. That is absolutely true. Oh, Lynn, I'm so excited that we actually had the opportunity to meet. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet officially in person at a trade show in the future.
Let's
I'm
hope
definitely
so.
so,
I
yeah.
miss seeing everybody,
Me
and
too.
I'm looking forward to giving some big hugs very
Me
soon.
too. Me too. Well, thank you so much, Lynn. This has been an absolute pleasure. You know, your wisdom, your advice, your just even encouragement and outlook on this industry that we all know is changing and really morphing into what we can be and should be, which is reflective of our marketplaces, is refreshing. I am inspired. Thank you for joining us today, and for everyone joining us again for our lunchtime spotlight. We're every month, we're annual, you know, monthly, we're talking to women who are meeting the times, meeting the needs, meeting our industry. And we hope you join us next month for our third episode. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank
Definitely
you,
hope to see
Bridget,
you soon. And we all will help definitely keep the faith and keep it moving. Thank you all
and
so much.
proud of our movement here in the Women in Security
Absolutely.
Forum.
Absolutely.
Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
Sia. Thank you so much.